rivals, welcome to Bax Attacks. Tonight we've got a little bit longer but extra special edition of Ice Knight at the Arena. When is the last time you saw Banemauve, Birna, Admiralty, and Hagar used in the arena? In addition, we're going to follow up last night's episode with a special look at spellcasting after the recent August 2015 update. They made some major changes there, and we want to look at the details of how they work. Now, because my ancients aren't very high level, I'm going to start off tonight by going through Siku's Horizon. That'll give a +3 mana bonus to all Cold's ancients if we're victorious. And using Forvel, that's not too difficult. Alright, so the thing we're going to consider here is take a closer look at that Frost Shield. You already know that it reduces damage and provides immunity to freeze towers. Now, before the update, we would just spam this frequently, just lay it down whenever we wanted to, and sometimes we would accidentally cast it right before the Frost Shield ended, sometimes a little bit after, and life seemed to be good. Now, what we didn't know was that, or what I didn't know, was that if you cast it early on troops that are already under a Frost Shield, you're completely wasting the mana. And basically they have knocked out that ability. So what I just did there was to try to drop the Frost Shield several times on top of units already covered, and it would not let me cast that. That's not taking away any benefit from me, that's just saving my mana. So instead, notice here on the ground there's no yellow circle for the spell. That means that all of the troops under there are already under a frost spell. And when one or more of the troops is ready to have it cast on it, you'll see the yellow circle appear for the frost cell. Now I let go there and it didn't cast because the yellow circle had not appeared. And I'll be doing it again in a second here. As you hover over your troops with the frost shield. See, now it's yellow on the ground, that circle. That means that all of the troops under there, or that there is an eligible troop under there. You can also look at the feet of the individual troops. There's kind of a very small orange square for those that it can be cast on, and for those that it's already active on, you have that spinning kind of icy shield that's floating around the troops. So if there's a mix of units, then the ones that do not have the frost shield will get it, and they'll get it for that full 8 or 11 seconds, and the ones that already have it will continue to have it and will run their normal duration. It does not reset the timer, never did. So that's how Frost Shield works in some detail, and we'll see Forvel used again. And we'll jump ahead to the third battle in Siku's Horizon, and we'll kind of run through this one a little bit extra quick this time. There's that Skywatcher upgrading, and so it's going to be very easy for the dragon to both get some mana on the buildings out here, as well as clear a nice pathway for the troops to get into the core. I really like doing the daily campaigns. It's fun. It's a change of pace. The Cold one in particular, Siku is such a nice ancient. I'm still hoping to get that one, and it typically is quite easy to win using Forvel on it. So there's no reason not to skip that one. All right, so we'll dump down the troops quickly. Drop the Frost Shield on them. Notice there was that orange bar in the circle. That means one or more of the troops was missed earlier. If we try to cast it right then, it wouldn't let us because they were all affected by it. Now we're just waiting for them to become ready for their Frost Shield again. Alright, there's an example of Midwinter, and when I try to drop it on the same place, on the same exact buildings, it won't let you cast again. So dropping Midwinter twice on the same buildings was useless before and can't be done now. So watch here. If we try to drop it a second time, we lose no mana because it doesn't cast, because it wouldn't do anything. If we move that to where it includes a different building, then we would be able to cast that. Alright, so that's the end of the Siku's Horizon. We got our +3 bonus. We did not get Siku, unfortunately. And let's jump into the arena and try out some of these different Ice Ancients in there and see how they can do, and see how their spells have been affected by the recent update. We'll start with Birna. Her first spell, Cold Snap, freezes a single target for 20 to for a few points of damage and for a few seconds. The Ice Storm slows things, the boost speeds up your troops, but that Cold Snap is the one that we're interested in. How can you use that effectively to control the dangerous buildings like that Flame Tower or an Insanity Tower or something like that? Because it's a pretty cheap spell, it's a good way to control that, and you also get some boost ability and some Ice Storm ability, so Burn looks like an interesting one to use on paper, but in practice, how is she going to work out? Alright, so the question is, how are the spells affected by the update? If we cast the Cold Snap and try to cast it again immediately on the same building, before you can do that, but it was a complete waste of mana, and now instead you can't target that building anymore. You see that yellow box is on the nearby buildings. If I keep hovering over there, boom, you saw that yellow square appear, and then I can recast it. If you do that fast enough, the spell will not be able to recast. But there, I let the Flame Tower wipe up while I cast a boost down, and that was a mistake. That immediately did some massive damage on a large number of troops. We don't have that damage reduction like we do with Forvel, and that Purple Tower meant that we had no healing going on. So that really just wiped out our troops really quick. Alright, we're going to pause 1 second. Now watch very closely as I cast the Cold Snap on this Ice Tower. Watch the blue regeneration bar and see what happens while it's frozen. It doesn't move. This is just like Giles' first spell that we saw last night. This is a change in the update, and this is really, really good for us. You have to be very careful with Burna's Cold Snap to keep any dangerous buildings locked down. You have to hover over and watch to see when you can cast it again, and do it almost immediately if you don't want it to fire it again. Fortunately, we're able to clear up enough around the stronghold and get just out of range of that watchtower so that the dragon's going to be able to snipe that and take that out. So we're still get a victory there by keeping an eye on our dragon as we're doing all these other things. Well, that worked out okay with Burna. Let's try some of the other Ice Ancients here in the arena. I am mostly picking the easy base. That's because I'm Stronghold 12 and there's no need to overcomplicate things when we're using Ancients that we're not too used to using in the arena. Alright, so on this base, it's a pretty good design here. It's got 4 good spell towers. It's not much upgrading. There's a number of anti-air defenses around the perimeter. It's going to be a little bit hard to funnel the troops into the core of the building here, and the walls are pretty good level. So let's give Hagar a try. Not only is he good at busting at walls, but I'm mostly interested tonight in this freeze spell. It freezes all the buildings in a small area for about 5 seconds, and it costs 10 mana. It's a second spell. So having that +3 mana bonus is going to be helpful. And the question here is, how is that second spell going to work after the update? That's our key question. Alright, so looking where I'm going to come into this base, I'm going to use just a small melee unit here in order to help with the funneling. Let's just use this fire elemental, and the point here is we just drop that on the watchtower to soak up the fire, drop the dragon right behind him, and we'll be able to take that out and leave the dragon in pretty good health. So once we do that there and then take out some of the other buildings, we'll lay down the other troops and avoid them being distracted and going off in that other direction. Alright, plus of course we're going to need that extra mana to be casting that second spell. Ideally we'd like to cast it several times, so this could be a bit of a challenge. Alright, we only have to take out the stronghold, not get the gold, so we can go a little bit longer on this prep time. He's trying to hide a watchtower behind the tree, but we see that. We're going to send the soldiers in, send the dragon in to back them up. And so now we've got a nice funnel created. Our troops are going to head into the core. And so we'll get them all in there. We have about 20 mana too, that's good. And so let's get ready with that freeze. And that'll lock down about 4 or 5 buildings. Note if I try to cast it on the exact same set of buildings, I can't. It won't let me waste the mana. And again, it never did reset the timer. If you did it before, you literally were just wasting 10 mana. Now, if you pick another building and cast it on that, then what happens is the new building that wasn't frozen before, it gets frozen for the full 5 seconds, and the other ones that are already frozen are ignored. Again, it doesn't reset the spell timer. Alright, so basically buildings or troops that are already under a timer for a spell have no effect if you're even able to cast on them, and you can only do that when there's another troop or building in the area that hasn't been affected by the spell. So keep that in mind with Hagar or with any of the other Ice Ancients. Alright, so for Hagar to work, you're going to really need a lot of mana, so keep that in mind if you do want to experiment with Himsun. Alright, we have a not too hard a base and several upgrading structures. There's an Insanity Tower, but it's far away from the Stronghold. So I'm thinking that if this is probably about as easy a base as we can hope for to try Bane Maw on. He came in the special winter event. A lot of fun to get him, and consider myself lucky to have gotten him. But he doesn't really have too much direct damage control, and no direct control over the spell towers as well. So in the arena, he's not really as useful as some of the other agents, but let's give him a try anyway. And we're going to see what happens by his first spell if we try to recast that, as well as the other ones. Alright, so we're going to need some mana for this. We'll use our dragon to snipe some of that. Whoops, I got him too close to the watchtower. I'll just move him back. Got to keep him alive. And we're going to come in from the corner opposite the Insanity Tower. We're going to drop down all our troops quickly. We'll get our first spell on there. We'll cast again and nothing should happen. It shouldn't let us cast that. Whoa, wait a minute. What just happened? The refs are throwing a yellow flag. Let's go to the instant replay. If I sound surprised, it's because we said that we couldn't recast a spell that was on a timer. But if we look super close here, there's about 3 wardens on the left that were not hit by the first spell. And so because there were some troops that you were able to cast the wolf pack on, you were able to cast the spell. So it doesn't help the other 37 troops there, but the 3 that we missed got included by attempting to recast. So that was pretty interesting. That's an example of what happens if you try to cast on mixed troops. Okay, so on to the rest of the spells here. We'll try to use the other ones to give the troops a little bit of a speed up, slow down the defenses from shooting, and then use the third spell to get some lifesteal ability on it. The problem is that all of that is very slow. You have to generate the mana, and there's nothing to stop them from being frozen or turned insane or blasted to pieces by the fire tower. So on a weaker base, when you aren't under as much of a threat, or when you have lots and lots of mana to be able to cast it quickly, those spells can be effective and they're fun. The lifesteal is useful, for example, and so is slowing the troops. But on a tough base, or the ones that you'll typically see in arena play, it doesn't cut it too much. So I was fortunate to be able to get a win against this easier base, but that's why Bane Maw isn't quite arena ready. But I still like the puppy. He's fun, and I'm glad we got to use him tonight. Okay, so, well, let's see what we get here in the arena chest, actually. Paladin, alright. Now, there's one more Cold Ancient that we have to use, and that is the good Admiral Lee. The Admiral has one of the most interesting spells in the game in his second spell, where you can tell your troops exactly where to go. It will prioritize whatever building you attack on, and I've seen so many people say that on a base like this, it's so easy. You just have to point Admiral Lee at the stronghold, let the troops go, they all cut right through the walls, go straight there, and it's pretty much game over. So I wanted to test that to see how it works. His Ebb and Flow is not a bad spell, but the healing it does is really kind of minor. The boost is okay, and there's nothing to control spell towers or damage or getting frozen, so that's why he's very tough to use. And so I'm going to grab an extra boost here, just a nice elemental, in order to, well, let me see. Actually, we're going to need some mana. We're going to need some mana right off the start. We're going to drop all the troops, we're going to cast the battle orders on the stronghold and watch them all dive right in and attack it, and it's going to be just an easy victory for us. And here we go, and they all cut right toward the center. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh boy, this is not good. Yikes. It didn't affect them at all. The problem is, they're going for the stronghold, but they realize that taking the route through the walls will take forever. And so they just take their natural pathway. Battle orders does not affect the pathway that you would take to get to a building. It only affects which building you choose to go to. And so that is a horrible spell choice on this type of base. I'm glad I saw it with my own eyes, because I've heard so many people say otherwise. Clearly they haven't tested it either. So this attack just goes down in flames. I hope there's no young children watching this. This is just graphic violence. Ugh. Poor Viscaria. Alright. Well, you know, the Admiral's fun. Let's see if we can he's a man of honor. Let's see if we can get him to get a victory. We'll try one more time. So we've seen, not too surprising, that the wrong way to use Admiral Lee is to just, from the start of the attack, just cast that once and expect everything to go right to the stronghold and crush it. Instead, the better use is to try to get close to the stronghold, get all the units in the area, but maybe, you know, going off a little bit to doing their own thing, and getting them to concentrate units already in the area, already with a clear path to the stronghold, and get it to attack that. So that'll be our goal for this second attack with Admiral Lee. Alright, so on this base we've got another kind of ring around the base, trying to encourage our units to go around and get lost. So I feel a little bit more confident that if they do that, our Admiral will be able to bring them back, snap them to their senses, give them the right battle orders, and let's see if the ebb and flow can help protect them from the damage that they're going to take. There is a Cursed Tower, a Flame one. Let's see, we're going to need a boost on this, I think. He does need a little bit of help. Let's see. You know what? The Frost Infusion spell has been bugged for months. Defeated troops freeze nearby structures for 2 seconds. It's an epic level boost. It's supposed to be a great boost. The problem is, it's never been working. So I am wondering now if after the spell update, Frost Infusion and Inner Fire actually work or not. So let's go ahead and test that out too. It'll either be a glorious victory or an epic fail where we learn something. Alright, so we'll get the funneling going, take out some of these buildings between the Skywatchers. Alright, let's get that Dragon Roost in the bunker so they don't come out. Alright, then we'll drop the troops down and hopefully they won't get distracted and they'll head toward the core of the base. Boy, I'm having trouble controlling my dragon on this one. Maybe the dragons don't like to listen to Admiral Lee as well as the troops do. Oh man, so the Skywatcher's hitting it. Alright, it's all up to you troops. Let's see what you guys can do. Alright, we're going to drop a soldier here to cut off those distracting buildings. We'll send the other troops over on this side, and then hopefully they will cut up and into the base and onto a glorious victory. And they just need a little ebb and flow to help them out, I think. Alright, so now they're happy, they're boosted, they're going in there, they're going to get healed a little bit. We got some guys running around, that's alright, we got our battle orders. And so we'll pull them all back and we'll send them all toward the middle. Oh, hey look, the Frost Infusion is working. Did you see the all the defenses that were frozen as the troops got near them? Oh my goodness. Oh kids, hide your kids' eyes. This is too graphic violence to even watch. They absolutely got wrecked. The Cursed Tower and the Flame Tower combination was just brutal on the troops here. So again, they were too far away from the stronghold. They had too far to go, and they really didn't have things under control when the Battle Orders was cast. So those are two great examples on how not to use Admiral Lee. Let's try one more time. And when I was looking for this base, I was kind of thinking to myself, it would be kind of funny if I found a base with the stronghold in the corner and say, this is the base you want to look for when using Admiral Lee, but don't want to disrespect him. Alright, so on this one, I think our path to the stronghold is a little bit more clear. The base isn't quite so hard. The spell towers are away from the stronghold. They won't interfere, and the one that's nearby is being upgraded. Alright, so this is pretty much a layup. If Admiral Lee can't get this one, I'm not bringing him back to the arena ever again. So I'm hoping he can do it this time, guys. And hopefully we'll, from those previous two fails, we'll get a better sense of how to use those battle orders. Now the Ebb and Flow, just like the Frost Shield, it's a timed spell. You can only cast it on troops the once, and then you have to wait for the timer to expire. And in this release now, it won't let you cast it early and waste the mana. So again, the update has really helped us not to waste our mana by casting the spells early. Now, of course, they could have chosen just to reset the timer with the spells, but that's a design decision that they didn't want to go with, and makes it more of a challenge for us. Alright, so now there's less defenses, less spells to work with. They're not too far from the stronghold, and look at them make a beeline for it. We get a little ebb and flow going. Fortunately, there's no freeze damage, and boom, they just wreck the stronghold. So when you don't have a large amount of splash or freeze, that's really the best time to use the battle orders. Remember, they're all going to bunch up together to go after the same building, and so splash is especially deadly when using the battle orders. So this time they were able to do it, and the Ebb and Flow now is working nicely. And we'll just try out that third spell. At low levels, the damage on these and the length of the spells is just a little bit too short. I'm curious to see how he would work out at higher levels, but I'm not going to be putting much Cold Primus into him myself. If any of you have more experience with Admiral Lee or stories to share of his victories, please let me know in your comments. Love to hear about that. Let's see if we get a marvelous chest result from this. Oh, 5,000 pure Primus. That's not too bad. Alright, so let's review how the Ice Ancients did in the arena tonight. Forvale, I think most of you would agree, is an A-level Ancient, an A+ on bases with a lot of freeze towers. That Frost Shield really is just one of the best spells in the game, and you can just use that over and over again and waste less mana now. Siku I don't have yet, but just a great 3 different spells. They control the battlefield, they do some damage when needed, so I'm looking forward to getting Siku, another A or A+ Ancient. Burma, kind of in the B- area. That cheap ability to freeze a single building is good. The boost and the Ice Storm are okay. Overall, though, probably not the best choice for it. Hagar, kind of similar. His first spell for the walls is very situational. His second spell is pretty good, kind of like the Magnetic Pulse. It can freeze several buildings at once, and that's helpful. But it's a little bit hard to manage your damage and your spell towers and to get that initial mana with Hagar. Banemaw, certainly a fun ancient, but one I don't think is going to be too effective in the arena, and Admiral Lee will have very situational use. If you find him useful, let me know how. I'd love to know that. And Ylsara, which is a new common Eldermaid just coming out, I just don't see taking that one to the arena, but as a cheap way to get a level 15 freeze tower within your village very easily. Well, that wraps it up. Let me know what you think about the Ice Ancients, what experience you've had, and if you'd like to see these Elemental series continue. If you could help me out by subscribing or liking this video, I'd really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching.